this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Kitchen time. I've got quite a lot to repot and I don't like doing too many at once because I get bored with it and get a bit slapdash towards the end, so the poor old plant on the end just doesn't get the attention it deserves. But nonetheless, with 40 odd plants to repot, and I'd like to get them potted at the right time for the plants, so some of them will have to wait, so they're not like on an urgent list. These two, this one's got far too many back bulbs, and got a massive outbreak of algae in the pot, some of which has died. Now that's not good. Live algae is bad enough, but the dead stuff just causes problems. But I need this in a much smaller pot, and now's the time. Yeah? Now's the time. That's what you're looking for, new root growth. And next to that new root growth is actually a new actual growth. So now's a very good time to do that one. That is, well, it's called Oncidium Golden Rialto, but it's strictly speaking an Odontoglossum. So much cooler grower than a lot of the Oncidium types. Can't remember where I got that one from, but that's sort of become to the top of the list purely because of the state the plant's in. Plus I don't like the look of that algae dying off in there. The other one that's going to get hit is Shelob Tolkien, and guess who got some of the back bulbs close to the glass in the sunshine? Luckily they're the old bulbs. Really lucky they're the old bulbs, otherwise I'd have been quite annoyed. But this one's been in its pot 2 years, and obviously gets very heavily watered, you know, during its active growth, because it's a hell of a drinker. So again, quite a bit of algae in the pot. It's got a good root system, but as I said on my update, I'm not happy with this back end. These bulbs are still firm, but the plant's got too big for its pot. I mean, its new growths are going to be over the side, and there are new roots coming out of these two new growths, so that's a good time to catch those. There's another one round here somewhere. Yeah, there's another new growth round here that's also just started its new growths. So there's 3 leads on this plant. Now until I get it out of the pot and take that back end off, I don't know what I'm going to be left with, but I'm pretty sure if I take the back end off I will end up with at least 2 plants. And it looks quite like that one of them, because there's a new growth up the middle of the plant too. So I think this is going to end up being 1 plant with this new growth and this one. And then this round here, I think is going to end up as 2 plants. So it might end up with 3 here, but until I get it out of the pot I'm not quite sure. So let's make a mess. I'm going to do the little one first. This one just needs to go in a much smaller pot with some new media so that it can stay there for a while and, you know, get those roots established. This is a rescue basically. I had some trouble with this one, but it's, you know, it's grown a new growth, and it now has new roots coming under that new growth, and don't want that label, it's not one of mine. Yeah, so it's in a good state to repot. I mean, that's a poor root system. Most of that, look, when you take your plant out and half the pot has still got media in it because it wasn't attached to any roots, it shows that the pot was too big. Otherwise the roots would have been all over the place. So yeah, algae, that will be a hydrogen peroxide smell. It's late in the day. Hydrogen peroxide spray to kill off that algae and any remaining spores and things. But I need to go careful in this area. You know, this is my new root area, and I've got some branching on some of the existing roots near the base of the plant, so we'll look after that bit. These older roots, they're not dead, but they're tired. Yeah, what I call tired roots. They probably still work fine for hydration purposes, but they're not going to grow anymore, and they're probably not going to branch. Yeah, and that's the other thing I always think, you know, if when you take your Oncidium type out of your pot and all the media just falls off, then the roots hadn't attached to it. So chances are, in this particular case, the roots haven't attached because they were old roots when they went in that pot. Yeah? So they haven't grown, and without an active growth, you're not going to get any attachment. So these old tired bits are just going to come off. Now whether I go 3 bulbs, 1, 2, 3, or just 2, I think I'm going to come off there. Yeah, it's a natural point. But I need to get my sterilised scissors. And that needs to go the other way. I need to get my scissors sterilised, and then I will have sterilised scissors rather than just the ones out of the drawer which I've just used. But yeah, it's in a nice state. Nice new growth just starting, and a load of new growth roots coming out. So that's rescuable. Although it was being rescued, it should now grow. To get that in new media this time of year as we go into the growing season with a load of active roots growing now, it should take off this time round. Right, in the sink for you. Let's get the big one out of the pot. So I'm struggling here because I've been lazy. My daughter was down yesterday and we had a couple of meals during the day. It was a nice cooked breakfast, and then we had a nice meal later on, and I haven't washed up yet because I've been watering. So of course you can't see it, but behind that camera is just stuff. I need to sort it out. But I want to get the orchids done first, and I might even be lazy and leave that washing up again until tomorrow. Got nothing to do in the grow room tomorrow except the mounts. Watered absolutely everything today. Holy clay pots, ordinary pots, the whole flipping lot. So I've been a busy boy today. And tomorrow I should do the mounts quite early in the day, and then I've got the rest of the day off. Make a flipping change. Been a bit busy lately. Still, that's the way it goes. It's a nice expression I heard, which I like a lot. You don't stop because you get old. Yeah? You get old because you stop. Think about it. And I like that, because I think keeping active, keeping your brain going, thinking about stuff, learning things, all that just keeps you going. An awful lot of people retire and just stop, you know. That's probably where the old brain starts getting a bit slow. A lot of these roots are old and tired. Again, they're still capable of hydrating the plant. That's not a problem. But you know, when I say old and tired, they're not dead, yeah, but they're not actively growing, and they're not that lovely pure white colour that you get on the new roots. But there's still a reasonable root system here, of course. And this side of the plant really has got a root system. It's totally entangled here. That's the good bit. But you see, I didn't water this today. I put it to one side, and where I am now in here, this is still damp. This hasn't been watered for 9 days, and the middle of the plant's still damp. And the reason? These roots are dead. Well, they can't use the water up, can they? This is the problem you get. The plant can often look dry on the top, and even down the sides if you use clear pots, and yet the middle can still be soggy. That's why when I repot, I like to get the plant away from the centre, you know, and get it back against the side so that the new growths have got somewhere to go, and you know, the older part of the plant isn't in the middle, it's nearer the edge. They seem to dry a bit better like that. And of course, small pot. Right, I'm just going to break off there because I need my scissors. I need to take this plant apart. There's no point in trying to clean it before I take it apart. I'll be cleaning bits I might not want. So I'll just get my scissors sorted out and I'll be back. Okay, I've got the big stuff out as well, so Let's set fire to the place. Those will need to cool off, as will these. I've just sharpened these as well. I've got a sharpening stone, so they're very easy to do. There you go. Yeah, you can tell when your scissors are sharp, you can hear the blades. Right, that's that done. Right, first job is the big cutters. Now I know those back bulbs have got to come off, so I know I've got to cut there, so that's the first cut. That's why I got the big stuff out. Now that's a little plant now, having been detached. That's just 3 bulbs, or 2 bulbs and a new growth. So that's a nice little plant to grow on. Might even be for somebody else. Until I get this apart and see how the size of the plants, I mean I might put 2 in one pot. This doesn't want to let go. Well, it shows it's got a good root system. And this little new growth is just starting its new roots. Because when this little part is potted up, most of these older roots are going to fail, I suspect. That's just the way. And looking back towards the back end of the plant, yet again. Now I've got a feeling last time I repotted this, I did actually know that it probably had Fusarium and it was treated. But as I can still see the purple in that section of the plant, it doesn't mean it travels all up here, because it was treated, but it's going to get treated again. Err on the side of caution. Yeah, a bit fed up with that, I must admit. You know, I mean, I've got it in my grow room. It's not in every plant by any means, but it's there, and every now and again it has a bit of a flare up. And all it normally is it's the plants can often live with it for a while, and then when you disturb the plant and put it under stress, it can't fight it anymore on its own. Yeah, so the Fusarium gets a better grip on the plant and starts to sort of multiply again and bung the thing up. But as I say, some plants can blink and live with it for ages. So that's one little plant. Get the sheaths off while I'm at it. Hidey holes for oh look, I'm glad I took that sheath off. Look at that lovely new growth there. Right, so it's got this new growth growing with some roots just starting, and another one following on behind, and the possibility of one here. Now when I pot this, if that one grows, yeah, from the state it's in, with the purple ring there, it's possible that this bulb was the last one infected. If that grows, that bulb's probably okay. Yeah. So we'll see. That's one to clean up. And the other one. Right, now what we got left? We'll see here. Again, I'm not going to try and keep that as one plant. There's an obvious division here. Now technically, if you want to be absolutely precise, if you've got an infected plant, you should sterilise between every single cut. And I will this time, because you never know, it could be in the whole plant, it might only be in that bit, and having just cut that through there, if I cut that bit, I may transfer. So we will re-sterilise. I don't, you know, on the same plant, sometimes I wouldn't bother. But in this case, as I say, I know this plant was treated, so you know, maybe that little bit we were looking at was the remains of what was dealt with last time, and maybe it's had another outbreak. You know, it happens. Right, so I'm going to take that off there to start. See, there is a tiny little bit of purple there, but there's not much. And as I'm now going to split this up, I don't want that old bulb, so I'm going to come the other side of it. Yeah, it's the same amount of pink. So it's still in the back end of the plant. The thing is though, when you treat a plant, the purple ring doesn't go away. It stays there, so even when you repot and you think, oh no, it's back, it might just be what was there before. You know, it's not necessarily another outbreak. But now I don't need to worry about my little scissors, because I'm not looking at a totally clean plant here. Now some of these roots that I'm snipping off are not exactly old and tired or even dead, but I need to get it in a small pot. Now that it's a small piece, I need it in a small pot. So I'm just taking off long ones that would only break. Yeah, it's a bit papery. There is some white ones here, I'm trying to keep them. And yet again, I've got some nice roots coming out there. I'm just going to take these few sheaths off and see if I've got any more new growths lurking underneath. There is the potential for a new growth there. That may push on. Sometimes just taking the sheaths off makes them grow. They sort of suddenly see the light of day. You know. Anyway, that's another little piece. Let's just get that old flower spike off. That's not doing any good at all. So that's another 3 bulb piece, all with leaves. Nice little piece. Now where are we? Alright, you can go. What have we got now? I still haven't taken the old bit off. The bit I was, the bit I was worried about. Well, let's get that off now. As I said, I'm not re-sterilising now because I know this old part of the plant has got the coloration on it. And having taken that old bit off, these are now 2 separate pieces, so they'll become 2 more plants. So I might actually pick the best 2 pieces and put them in the same pot to make it look like a larger plant again. But this plant, I don't think this plant got divided last time, so it has sort of grown to the extent that it's probably got more, it had, till I started hacking, more old bulbs than it had new ones. And they can start slowing down when that happens. They're still trying to support the old bulbs and sort of pump nutrients and keep them hydrated as a backup area, it's backup storage basically. Yeah, the purple ring on this bit's very, very faint. The roots are only just showing on there, so this one might take a little while to get going because the active roots are not there. But it's part of the same plant. What am I supposed to do, Let's get the back end cleaned up. Yeah, when you can see these little stringy bits sticking out the end of the root, it doesn't mean the whole root's dead, but certainly below that point is, so you just as well snip back behind it. Now that root will probably grow. It's not too soft, it's not too bad, that one. What else we got lurking? Oh, those 2 can come off. That'll do. Don't want to go too mad. What's the end of this one like? Back a bit, and you can go back a bit. There we go. That's not a lot of roots on that piece, and the new growth on this one hasn't got new roots starting yet, so that one's going to take a while to get going. Nonetheless, it's again 2 back bulbs and a new growth, or 2 older bulbs and a new growth. Right, what have we got left now then? You're not going anywhere. That's the bit I originally wanted to take off. Yeah, if you see, like, this is the old part of the plant. That purple ring is quite strong there. Yeah, whereas on these newer parts it's nowhere near as bad. Now what am I going to do with this piece? I'm just having a look at the base of this pseudo bulb because It is slightly discoloured, which was what I was worried about on the back end of the plant. If I've got any doubts, it's coming off. Well, that one's coming off, definitely. It's still bright pink there, so that means that that one, as I said, it's been treated. You know, the pink's still there, but I'd still like to get to a place where it's not quite so bright like that. Right, so now what have we got? Now we've got a new growth on this one that's just starting its new roots, so that one should get going. Possibility of another eye to push on there, and the possibility of one back here. I mean, this is a vigorous plant. Shelob Tolkien grows like a blinking weed. Once it gets its roots established, it'll be slow without a root system, but once the roots start going, they take off. They can easily push up a couple of new growths per year, easily. Right, so we've got a massive tangle here, part of which belongs to that bit. Not bad. Ooh, that's a manky one. It's hanging off. Another manky one. What about you? No, you're not up to much. Nor are you. Nor are you. How are we doing? It's another manky one. Trim those purely for getting it in the pot. Just remember, this is a branching root system. You know, if you take a growing tip off, if it's a live root that's active, it will branch out. And often you will get more roots than you would have done if you hadn't snipped it. You know, I mean, if it had one growing tip and you snip it off and it produces 4 branches, you've now got 4 growing tips. Bonus. Right, let's go back to touchy-feely now. These are quite dry. Yeah, those ends are a bit too dry. Now, how are we doing? That's not too bad now. Not too bad. And as a precaution, this will get a fungicide treatment. But it's just starting its new roots on that piece. So again, 2 back bulbs with leaves and a nice new growth pushing on. So all of the pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, are effectively 2 bulbs with leaves and a new growth. So it could be 2 pots of 2. I'm going to have something to drink and have a think while I sort out pots, media and all that sort of stuff which you don't need to watch. That's the talking about getting them out of the pot and the cutting. The major surgery. But that really was a deep purple ring on the older part of the plant. It's certainly nowhere near as bad as that on the newer parts. So, but as I said, you know, if you've had Fusarium in a plant, you can grow it on for a couple of years, come to repot it, and when you take the old back bulbs off, they will still have that coloration. It doesn't go away, never goes away, it's always there, and the damage is permanent. Yeah? All you can do is stop it spreading so that the rest of the plant can grow away from it and grow clean. That's all you can do, is kill it and stop it dead in its tracks, but you can't get rid of the infection. It's already there, it's done its damage. Right, I'll be back when I've sorted myself out. Right, hopefully I've got all the essentials here, especially that one. By the way, there has been a transition from coffee time to wine time. I've been getting on with other things in the gap. So it is now genuinely quite late in the day. Right, that's what's left of the little Odontoglossum. Where's my camera? There's some good new roots pushing out here, and a fair few of them, and the start of a new growth. That's the only bit of the plant that's really viable, but I'm keeping the old bulb on because I want something to stake, because that's not going to stay up on its own. So it'll just give the plant a bit of support. It's quite desiccated, this old bulb, but nonetheless it can store stuff. You know, it'll help, you know, an interaction between the two. Pot size. I bought out 2 and I can already see that one's far too big. Yep, out you go. Which means we're down to that size, which is a little pot. But given the amount of roots in there, there's still too much space, really. But as those roots are active, they are growing now. I'll put up with that size. Also, with a pot that small, I wouldn't bother crocking, you know, the bottom. Those roots are going to grow quite quickly, I suspect. Just small bark and moss for this one. Most of my Oncidiums go in this mix now. The only exception is if I get a real chunky root system, which you do come across on some Oncidiums. My Rawdon Jester has got roots like Cattleya. They're great big thick chunky things. But some Oncidiums are also very, very finely rooted, and I just find that most of my Oncidiums, as an average, do better in the small bark with a reasonable amount of moss mixed in, which helps it stay moist longer. That's what the moss is for. Saves watering so often. But in the winter you might have a downside and it stays wet too long. Depends on your temperatures. You know, I mean, if you're growing in your home, then you're going to be watering quite a bit more frequently than I do. You know, I mean, as I said, I go 9, even 10 days sometimes in the winter. With the low temperatures, the growth rate slows right down. If they're not growing that much, you know, they don't need so much water. Simples. Right. I need quite a bit in the bottom of this, actually, simply because the root system is not extensive. It's a polite version. Right. That back bulb's going to lean over, I think. Where's my new growth? There. I think that's about as high as I dare go. It's not going to stand up. I mean, it may even fall over before I even get a chance to get a stake in there. It's got very little to hang on to. I'm packing this loose at the moment so that I can gently go down the side. I can't pack this one in tight, not with those roots that size. They're too small and fragile. They'll just break or get crushed, one or the other. So I'm just hoping that will stay still long enough for me to grab the stake. And it's when you've got a little pot like this, it's actually quite difficult to get a stake to do anything as well. So I'm lifting the plant slightly now. It's a bit low in the pot, which means I can get a bit more media in underneath it. Just raising it up a bit. There's a limit to how high you can go in the pot. If the media is right up to the edge of the pot, then every time you water it, it'll all fall out. You'll flood the top of the pot and the media will fall off the edge. So there's a limit to how close to the top you can get, practically speaking. Right, now let's see if I can get that stake to stay somewhere still. I'd like it right up against that back bulb. Well, that made clicky noises. Yep, that's good. Right, before I knock it and it wobbles, get it tied. Excuse me. I'm tying the top of the old pseudo bulb to the stake. That's not a good tie, but it's good enough for a lightweight plant like this. And it will keep it tight. No, it won't, because I've just pulled it off. Because I wasn't looking at what I was doing. Right, so we'll start again. In fact, I think if I tie it to the stake first, then it won't move, it won't slide. So let's get my double loop knot on there, that doesn't move. And get that into the right position on the stake, and then the tie can't move, but tying the knot can wobble the stake around something wicked. This just is not firm. It's just not a deep enough pot. But I can force that media in around the stake because there's no roots there. Just help hold it a bit still while I come round here and tie the stake to the top of that bulb, which is what I was trying to do before, but it slid. It won't slide now, it'll stay there. There we go. And if the back bulb's held tight, the front bulb will stay with it. Right, Now, really pack that in tight around the old bulb because there's no roots there. That gives the plant a lot of stability. Right. And also, only bark around the old bulb, no moss. It's not going to grow. It's just going to sit there. It's only there for support, so it's not going to grow roots. But all these delicate little new roots, they're around the front of here. And I'm just clearing out the bark. I've got a stick or something. I'm just clearing the bark away from where the new growth is so that it's not touching. There we go. That's that one done. That's quite firm. That's not bad at all. And it's only held firm by the old one, but my roots are just round the top and just under the media. In fact, I'm going to put a little bit of moss just over those couple of roots. Keep them hydrated. Right, that's that little one done. Now come on, grow. Blooms on this, I'll do pop-ups because the blooms on that are absolutely gorgeous. I don't want to lose that one. Oh, that's going down well. I had a really long day yesterday with driving and everything. I've had a really busy day today. And as soon as I've finished doing this, I'm not going to be doing anything else today. It's probably sit in front of the TV and fall sound asleep and then wake up and it'll be too late to have tea. Right, I've decided to put two, I've got 4 plants, I've decided to put 2 in each pot so that I've got 2 growing points in each pot with the, oh, where are we? With the possibility of a back eye shooting out and starting another lead. This plant has been prone to forking and producing double leads. That's why I've got so many pieces, because it keeps branching. Well, if I can get this one to shoot, I'll have another growing point behind this one, so a set of blooms behind this one. Yeah, if you see what I mean. And then this one may well do the same thing if this one pushes, but the 2 new growths on these 2 pieces are virtually identical. So by putting them in the same pot, they should both be in bloom at the same time, which will make up for the fact that it's not a big mature plant anymore because it's been hacked. Right, some more moss in here. I should probably need some more media too. We'll see. I've still got to decide what pot. I've got a distinct gap in my pot sizes. I've got little ones and then it goes up to like medium sized but slightly too big. Somebody on my Facebook page found some really nice opaque pots, which is what I've been after. Shut the light out, you stop the algae, and you don't shut the light totally from the roots, but it stops the algae growing because it hasn't got enough light. It works quite well, but I haven't been able to get any lately. But I've got a website, well, it's an eBay page basically, so it's just a matter of where they are. You know, if they're in the States, then the postage will just be too silly. You know, if they're in Australia or something like that. But if they're in the EU, then the postage will be reasonable. And I'll get some, because they certainly look okay. I think they look sturdy, you know, not all flimsy polythene type pots like you get sometimes. Especially some of the imports from the Far East, their pots really are rubbish. You only got to breathe on them and they break. Anyway, so I've got a choice of 2 pots. I've got a flat bottom pot with some large holes, and then this one is an air cone pot, but it's taller. But by crocking the air cone, which I would do naturally anyway in a pot this size, I'm going to make it a shallow pot. So I'm going to go with that one, with the air cone. Simply because a lot of these roots are not actively growing. They're okay to hydrate, but not actively growing. So they won't use as much moisture as an active root system. So by crocking the bottom, it won't stay soggy, because there won't be many roots working hard in that area, just keeping the plant going, but they won't be working hard. Right, I know what I haven't done. I haven't done the old cinnamon, have I? There we go, apple pie time. Oops, didn't get much, did I? That's better. Don't say that horrible cough's going to come back again. There's been so many people ill. You know, at the Orchid Society on Friday, we had some missing and some that came back because they didn't want, I was going to say because they didn't want to miss my talk, but they probably just didn't want to miss the meeting really. That shouldn't have been there because they were still ill. So there's a lot of it about. And it takes something pretty rigorous to get hold of me. I just don't get ill. You know, my family, if my family hear that I'm ill, they vacate the country. Because if it's bad enough to get Roger, it's serious. I just don't get ill under normal circumstances. So that was a bad one. And talking to somebody at the Orchid Society, we eventually agreed that we know exactly where we both got it from. We know the individual who came into the meeting and was so bad he got sent home halfway through. Unfortunately, he was the guy I had to deal with for the projector for my talk, because he wasn't going to be there yesterday anyway, whether he was ill or not. He had another appointment, so I had to take the projector and everything off of him. So obviously discussing where the wires go and what sockets to use and all that, we were in quite close proximity. And somebody else who got hit the same, they said, when you get something like that, you need to think back 3 or 4 days to find out who was around that didn't look well, and that's the blighter you got it from. And we both agreed that at the point we both got it was following that meeting, and it was that guy who got sent home because he was so ill. He shouldn't have come in really, but if he hadn't come in, somebody would have had to go and get the projector off of him for that meeting. That's the trouble when you're the custodian of some kit. You have to be there, you know. I think I'm going to need to stake this, which is a flipping nuisance. I don't want to get away with just compacting it down tight. Well, let's keep going. I've still got the back end of the plant with no nice new roots poking out, so I can pack that down really hard. It might just catch. Stay still. What are we doing if I let go? Not good. It's going to have a stake. Blow it. I just happen to have one handy. Where can I stake and tie that? I tie those 2 bulbs together. I should do it. I'm going to squash any leaves. Yes, 1. Now we can get around that. So about there, I think. And the other thing to remember is if you are using an air cone pot, don't put your stake down the middle of the pot, will you? That's the shallowest bit. That's not going to work, is it? You need to get it sort of slightly off to one side where it can get into the depths, or the deepest part anyway. To save any worry and wiggling, I'll tie to the stake first again. Once that's firm, we can tie those 2. And actually I can go round that leaf and not trap it, and just trap the tops of the 2 bulbs and tie those together with the stake in the middle. And just below the top of the bulb, if you get too high up, you'll sandwich the base of the leaves. So make sure if you're tying near the top of the pseudo bulb, you're actually on the bulb, not actually on the base of the leaves. Well, if these 2 need staking, I'm pretty sure the other 2 will, and that's my last stake without digging into the cupboard. Right, hopefully that's a bit firmer. I mean, luckily with this plant, the new roots are in a more advanced stage, so they are going to get down into the pot a lot quicker. But I'm running out of moss, running out of bark and everything, and I've only done 1 pot. I'm just adding the last little bit of this moss to go onto the top of the pot, which is where the new roots are going to be. just to keep that a little moister, just around the base of the new growths, which is where the new roots will be, or are in fact, not will be. That's not bad. Do I need a bit down there? I probably do, because that is right to the side of the new growth, and some new roots may push out sideways, so we'll make sure that bit's covered. And then the back end of the plant don't need to be buried, which it isn't, and new growths have a mix of moss and bark with a bit heavier on the moss. And if my new eyes grow, I've got one here which can come out sideways, the other one unfortunately is right in there, but that will just come straight up in the centre of the pot, and that means instead of only having roots coming off of these new growths, I'd have some in the centre of the pot too, and that really will fill the pot. So that's that one. Actually the other two are a repeat of that. There's no point in filming that, it's exactly the same, so I'll cut that one off there. So that's Shelob Tolkien, split into 4 from one very large plant. The older part of the plant taken off, because on this plant it was serving no purpose. And then the other little one over here, what was an Odontoglossum, Golden Rialto, which is now called Oncidium, but not in my notes, it's not. If anything was ever called Odontoglossum, for me it stays that way, because I didn't agree with that renaming. They were different to Oncidiums enough in my book to actually maintain their old name and the history, because there's some very old plants in the Odontoglossums, some of the first discoveries that were brought back to the UK. So by renaming them you've lost all your history. Anyway, we will see how they do. Get them back in the steamy jungle out there, because the old fog has been doing its thing today. I'm going to have to do some adjustments on that, quite honestly, because it's a much wetter fog than the grow room's been used to, and the readings I'm getting are, it's under reading, probably because the droplets are larger. So the unit that I'm using to measure it is not giving a true reading. I mean, there's a feel, you know, when you go in an area like that, you know, like when you go in like one of the big greenhouses at Kew Gardens or something, there's a feel. You know when that humidity's high, given the temperature, yeah? And when I go in the grow room now, when the sun's out and it's up sort of 24, 25 degrees, that humidity seems a hell of a lot higher than the reading I'm getting. So I'm still playing with the settings at the moment. Anyway, first of some repots, first of many. I won't be filming all of them. I'll try and pick on the different types of orchids as I swing past them and try and get up to the magic 40. But some of them have got to wait, so although they're on the repot list, they will not be done until I've got new roots. I'm not pushing my luck with some of them. Certainly there's a couple of Cattleyas that I'm just waiting, and I don't care if I have to wait till June or July. Until I see those roots, they're not getting done. So that's that little session. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.